Today, we are going to rank first round draft talent based on how much the Houston Texans would like that player. Now, I feel like I have to say this, but obviously, I am not a part of the Houston Texans organization. This is all my speculation, and this is not what my draft board looks like. I'm just going to rank these players based on how I think the Texans like them. Also, keep in mind, I'm not rating Travis Hunter. I'm trying to keep this realistic around pick 25. So, without further ado, let's get straight into that, ranking players at pick 25 based on how much the Texans like them. Well, first, let's talk about what metrics are we using to evaluate this. Well, Nick Caserio, in a recent interview via Texans Voice with Mark Vandermeer, said, "We're grading the player based on what we think the role potentially is going to be in our system, and we're just going to pick the best players that we feel fit the Houston Texans. So there's no positions that are really off limits. We've never really approached it that way. We try to get good players with the right mindset that have a good physical skill set." So just right there through that interview, you can say the system fit, they have to have the right mindset, and they have to have the right physical skill set. Now, to dive a little deeper, let's look at Nick Caserio's past first round picks. He's only picked in the first round in 3 years. With some various trades and trade backs with Stephon Diggs in his first year. He only had a third round pick was his highest, a couple of those. But anyway, let's talk about CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, and Kenyon Green. Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you just by looking at these names is they all come from big schools and they all have had years of college experience. They're also leaders and captains, particularly CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. Now, there is a little asterisk by that, and that is freak talent, right? Derek Stingley is the only name on this list that really only had 1 year of good college production. But I think this speaks more about Derek Stingley than about them just randomly doing that to guys. Like, Derek Stingley was a freak talent, a freak of nature in college. So even though he only played 1 year, obviously Nick Caserio correctly picked him. Now, I don't know if anybody at 25 in this draft really fits the freak talent category, so we're not really going to talk about that too much. But really, yeah, CJ Stroud, 2 very productive years at The Ohio State University. Will Anderson, 3 very productive years. Kenyon Green, 3 very productive years. Played all over the line at Texas A&M. So big schools and really good productive years of college experience. And we all know CJ Stroud was a team captain. Will Anderson was a team captain. I'm not sure about Kenyon Green. I know Derek Stingley wasn't, but again, he's the freak talent category. So now let's pull up this list of players and let's re-rank them slightly based on how I think they would get ranked by the Texans. I have an order, so we're going to look at the physical skill set, right? How good are they? That's always the first thing. Do they come from big schools with productive years of college experience? Were they leaders and captains? And simultaneously to that, do they have the right attitude or maybe they have the wrong attitude? And then these last two, again, system fit. No one really knows what the Texans system is right now because, well, simply it's a new OC. We don't really know. In the freak talent category, like I said, I don't think there's very many Derek Stingleys that are going to be around at 25. I feel like Travis Hunter would fit this category, but I don't think any of these other guys at this pick level do fit that category. So without further ado, let's start pulling up some players, and let's start kind of surprisingly, but not really, with Gray Zabel. Now look, Gray Zabel fills a lot of the check boxes, right? He has the big physical skill set, the tools, the size. He has a lot of productive years of college experience. From what I've heard, he has the right attitude. He played everywhere on the line, but he gets the last tier because he's coming from North Dakota State University. We saw the names in the previous first round drafts. Nick Caserio has never picked a player from a small school, especially in the first round, really at all, but especially in the first round. So Gray Zabel jumps from maybe being in that green category on a board to realistically more of that red category. Next, this is going to be not so surprising, and it kind of goes against what I think, but who am I, right? I'm just a YouTuber. Tetairoa McMillan. Look, McMillan has the physical skill set. He has the years of college experience, but you really have to start to question that attitude. Does he actually care about football? In an interview, he said he didn't. Does he watch film? In an interview, he said he didn't. You can call Arizona a big school, I think, big enough. But again, once maybe you don't, so maybe you factor in the Arizona, you factor in that he doesn't have that right attitude. Look, the Houston Texans seem to prioritize attitude over everything, and Ted McMillan is not looking great in the attitude department, and for that reason, he drops to a red grading. Moving on, another receiver, Luther Burden. Luther Burden has 1 year of production in college at Missouri, though, but this year wasn't extremely productive. So he's already Xing out some of those boxes. And now we're finding out he's a diva. He gives up in games. He might not even have the right talent and the right mindset to even make the field. Again, the Texans love good mindset guys. Luther Burden starting to fall out of the production favor, maybe a little bit out of the mindset favor, and we don't necessarily doubt the skill set, the physical skill set and the talent, but he's not a freak athlete. Obviously, he's not a Derek Stingley level of an athlete, and he's starting to fall out, and he makes the red area and rounds out the red area. All right, let's continue moving on. Someone who moves up in the draft board is Amarian Hampton. Amarian Hampton has been one of the most productive backs in college at UNC. Very productive back-to-back seasons, over 1,500, around 1,500 yards each season. He would be the best running back in most running back classes. It just so happens that Ashton Genty's there. And from what I've heard, there's no bad negative character issues around him. So here, I think system fit kind of comes in, not necessarily the system, but do the Texans really need a running back in the first round? I don't think it's completely out of the question that they don't draft Amarian Hampton. That's why he moves up to the yellow. But again, he's a running back. Don't know if they're actually going to take a running back, but he's really got everything else going for him. So shout out Amarian Hampton jumping up this list. Another player jumping up this list is Donovan Jackson, the left guard who now has to play left tackle at Ohio State University. The years of dominance at Ohio State University. Has he looked perfect? No. Does he have the physical skill set? Yes. Is he as dominant as other O-linemen are on this draft board? No. But nothing wrong with his attitude. Very productive. He's played both guard and tackle. He also moves up on this draft board in the yellow. Now let's keep pushing along here. Josh Conerly Jr. Look, Josh Conerly Jr., right skill set, great traits. Love his attitude. He has a great attitude. He wants to be the best offensive lineman on the field. He's younger, though, so the productive years of college experience aren't really there. He definitely needs to learn a little bit more, the position a little bit more. But again, great traits, really good instincts, and you feel like you could teach this guy a lot of the stuff. So he stays right where he's at in that yellow tier. And to round out this yellow tier, Matthew Golden, maybe the most controversial person on this list. Look, the only thing I can knock Matthew Golden for is the lack of production in college. Now, you could argue with me, you could say, yeah, that's true, but look, he went from U of H to University of Texas and got more productive. And I totally agree with you. That logic makes a lot of sense. That being said, he only has one season where he's gone for 1,000 yards, and his other seasons were around 400 and 500 yards at U of H, right? So that's something to factor in. I honestly don't think you can knock him for anything else. He's got the physical skill set, produced at a big school. Nothing wrong with his attitude from what I've heard. So the only reason Matthew Golden gets knocked down to yellow in terms of do the Texans draft him is just because of those productive years. But now let's move on to the guys in the green. There's a lot of them. There's the most of the guys in the green, which is good. Guys that I think the Houston Texans could realistically take. Let's start with Kelvin Banks Jr. Look, Kelvin Banks Jr. dominated at Texas for 2 years. He was battling injury this past year, but still looked very good. From what I've heard, he's got a great attitude. He's got, I'm not sure if he was a captain, actually. I should have done some research on that, but no glaring issues with his mentality. Was very productive. Again, not sure if he was a captain, but when you look at Kelvin Banks Jr., he's got the production and he's got the physical traits to where he could play tackle in the NFL, and that's what we love to see. Staying in the green, Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State University. Obviously, he needs to clear his medicals, but if his medicals are clear, what's not to like about this guy? He could have been the best tackle in the whole draft class if he hadn't torn his patellar tendon. Much of the same reasons with Kelvin Banks. Dominated at a very good school. Great years on years of college experience, and nothing has come out yet about his attitude. Actually, he looks great. He was working out at the combine post-injury, so he's doing great, and I think the Houston Texans could see something in him. Now let's talk about Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. Look, Colston Loveland, you could knock him a little bit on the productive college experience years. This past year, he wasn't as productive. But look, that being said, Michigan's offense was terrible. He was still pretty productive at that tight end position this past year. He was extremely productive the year before, winning the national championship. So Colston Loveland, he's got the skills. He's got the traits. He could be a tight end 1 in the league. And he's not even the best tight end in this draft, which is crazy to think about. I think tight end is less likely to be drafted than wide receiver or offensive lineman by the Texans, but you can't knock his attitude. He's would be a great system fit with Nick Caley, who loves to coach up tight ends. Colson Loveland makes this list in the green. Second to last, we have, drumroll, no surprise, Tyler Booker. Look, Tyler Booker has completely destroyed people at that guard position at Alabama for several years, and he is a team captain. He is a leader. He not only has the right attitude, he has the leadership and the captain skills. The Houston Texans will love this kid's attitude. They will eat him up. He has been literally called the Will Anderson of the offense at that offensive guard position. His work ethic speaks for itself. If you had to knock Tyler Booker for one thing, it would be his combine testing, the physical skill set category. Not the most athletic, at least according to the combine, but I have seen kind of a knock on him be it's a little harder for him to maintain blocks once he has to get up to that second level, once he has to move. He's great if he's just sitting right between the center and the tackle, but if we have to start pulling him and moving him, the athleticism or lack of can kick in. But that being said, look, his mentality, his mindset, the Texans are going to eat this guy up. They're going to love him. But not as much as the number one guy I have on this board. And you guessed it, it's Emeka Egbuka. Look, they love Emeka Egbuka, no doubt in my mind. He fits every single category. He was a leader in that wide receiver room. He has the right attitude. There's stories of him handing out Bibles. He was at a productive one of the best wide receivers colleges in the country, was productive for 4 years, an amazing 4 years, has the physical skill set, has the IQ, has the right attitude. Emeka Egbuka, to me, is their draft crush. He is the guy that most screams Texans. If he's still available at 25, it is without a doubt Emeka Egbuka. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with this board? Again, ranked on how much I think the Texans like them. Let me know in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next one, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Peace out.